Hey everybody, Adam Savage at Earl Hays in Los Angeles alongside Michael Corey. Props to history. How are you?
How you doing?
Very good. We've been shooting some videos here and we were covering money as a category, and you were saying there were some aspects of film money that have shown up in more productions than many other props ever. But we are in front of another in the category of objects that show up repeatedly over film history. Tell me what we've got here.
So what we have in front of us are a couple examples of the newspapers that are produced here at Earl Hays Press, and one that we've talked about a little bit before, which is the recurring newspaper, the famous recurring newspaper that people see the interior of all the time, that you've seen in thousands and thousands of movies, believed to be about 10,000 productions that it's been used in since the 50s when it was first started to be produced.
So what you're saying is that in any movie, when someone's sitting and reading a paper, they're not reading a contemporary paper.
No.
And that's because the filmmakers, for the most part, understood.
Yeah.
But this is because the filmmakers don't want to date the film. They also don't want to clear the copyright on all of that paper. So Earl Hays makes fake newspapers.
Yeah, they make fake newspapers with fake newspaper names, fake newspaper companies.
The Herald Clarion.
The Herald Clarion.
Carefully don't date it.
Yeah, there's no date on it. It is, however, the evening edition, so you know what time of day it is. But beyond that, there's nothing that really indicates when and where. And it's the same with, this is going to kind of give it away. Everybody knows the Wall Street Financial. You think of New York, but it doesn't say New York. But it's also not the Wall Street Journal, so you don't have to pay for the licensing for the Wall Street Journal.
All someone has to do is that, and you think you're seeing the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then...
Yes, yeah.
That's it.
That is the recurring newspaper.
Right here. Every time you look over someone's shoulder in a movie, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be looking at this spread. Am I right?
Yeah, and you're going to be looking directly in the face of Earl Hays, the founder of this company.
That's
Earl Hays right there.
We're finding this has been like an endless stream of visual Wilhelm screams.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely is. And everything they make here, at least you can almost assume, has an Easter egg of some sort that harkens back to the days of the company.
Right, and I love doing this because it's like there's a glitch in the Matrix. You turn the page, and you're in the same location. It happens when they change something.
Yeah, and also, a lot of people don't realize this, but on the very back of this, which people have seen the back of this newspaper 1,000 times, apparently it's the weather from 1971, because it's the only date in the entire newspaper. They added this in when weather forecasts became a thing in 1971.
So before that, they had something else
here. There was something else there.
Okay.
And we've not found really any earlier editions to tell what it was. Okay. But in 71, weather forecasts became common. But it's still the same weather as it was in 1971.
It is. Well, so that explains the back, and that explains the inside. Why do we have a blank one over here?
Because this is how productions get their newspapers. They come in, they tell the folks here at Earl Hays, this is our story. This is the art we want to use with it. This is the headline, the place, the time. And they create that. They create the images that go in there. They create all of the filler, which is lorem ipsum. It's nonsense filler. It says nothing at the end of the day.
These are blocks of text that become these newspaper columns.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as I was reading this, it's like that paragraph is that paragraph is that paragraph is that paragraph.
Yeah, and they just kind of throw it in, make it look right.
Right.
Print them off, send them off, they get approved. Everybody's happy. They make a run of 50 or 100.
So then this has an interior, and Earl Hays prints up these interiors ahead of time, so they've got a stock of these, and then let's say Scorsese comes and says, I need a newspaper. They will then lay it out and print it right on here.
Yep, and then they can just run them through the printer, say they only want 10, they want 20, maybe they need to fill a whole newsstand. Wow. They can do that, and then create multiple different headlines that carry on the story, because sometimes the story, as you know, the story is told through the insert shots.
Yeah, it's a classic expositional source.
Absolutely, yeah. And they'll use that to tell the story, but at the same time, it's something they don't have to pay for.
Right.
They don't have to pay licensing on anything because they own it all.
And that's the advantage. That's one of the key things they bring is they eliminate the need for clearance of objects you have in frame.
Yeah. We're in a room filled with cleared products.
Right.
Because that's what they do. They create these things for Hollywood to use without licensing restrictions.
And you were saying the difference between these two papers, you called this a 6-column paper and this is a 7-column paper. You're just counting the number of columns across.
Yeah. And this is an indicator of older style of newspaper.
Oh,
because the width of the newspaper changed over time.
Right, yeah, these are totally
quite a bit wider, and they're just referred to as the 7-column and the 6-column.
And this is also blank because they can do the same thing with the oldie.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interior of this newspaper, that one right there, hasn't changed ever.
Ever?
Look how old it looks.
It really does.
Yeah, it looks quite old. This is the same interior that you would find in the newspapers from, say, the Maltese Falcon. Or Citizen Kane.
Oh.
Because all those newspapers came from here. So the only difference is the headline. That's it.
Oh my God.
But these are newer made ones.
Right,
because those old papers are long since gone. But the interior just hasn't changed in that long because they haven't needed to.
That is so cool. Okay, we have these laid out here, and you were showing a little bit of the metal plates, but this is I feel like this is a spectacular reveal.
Yeah.
This is actually how they print them up.
Yeah.
This is how they change the covers and make them different. This is the what do you call
masthead.
it? Yeah, the Herald Clarion.
Yeah, this is called the masthead.
That's and they can change the masthead trivially
to whatever they want because
pull
it's
something out.
Individual letters, and then down below us here we have all different manner of different blocks that can be put in, and it carries on over there. There's millions of them in here.
There's got to be.
We're
there's
surrounded by them.
Right.
And then they can add in, if they want, they can add in an image, and then they own these stock images.
And they own all of these texts and font layouts and everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So they can do whatever they want with the front of this newspaper and then print it however is necessary. And when I knew nothing about printing.
This isn't even a logo. These are just individual letters.
It's just individual letters.
Oh,
wow. In a specific type of font. And it's the Wall Street Financial the same way.
Oh, man.
It's just individual pieces, all made out of lead, so wash your hands. And they actually used to cast these on site. They used to make these blocks here on site. The old lead caster is still back there in the back. It hasn't been fired up in probably decades. But
and am I right? This is how newspapers were printed too.
Yeah, quite in real life. This is how they're done. Well, the gentleman who used to own this place, the grandfather of the current owner, he came from the LA Times. He was a pressman and a typesetter. That's
makes total sense. Yeah. Right. So he had worked in a high pressure, high precision environment for a long time.
Yeah, and then he didn't.
Yeah, this must have been a lot. This must have seemed like a vacation.
Oh,
after putting out a daily
after
paper.
dealing with the LA Times. But that's how a lot of these guys started. They came from the newspaper industry. This was old hat for them by the time they got here. And it weighs a ton.
So it weighs a ton. Yeah. And these are loose, but there are methods and mechanisms for locking all these in.
Yeah, they clamp them in place. They put them on the press, and then they'll run a short run. Because what they use here for these is called a proof press.
Right.
They don't have the big,
massive... They don't have that giant...
the massive machines. They don't need it.
But it still does the same thing. Paper comes through, an inker comes across, lays it across this, it presses the paper into it.
Shoots it out the end, and you have a newspaper. And same process, same concept, same idea as a major newspaper manufacturer, but just in a smaller format for limited runs. Because a production may need 10, 20, 30. They don't need 1,000.
There's also these small artifacts of slight variances in the text darkness and the contrast just from ink stuff. And that also is a level of veracity that simple digital printing would be hard-pressed, pun intended, to replicate.
Yeah, because digital printing would make this all exactly the same.
Right.
Unless you sat there and painstakingly changed all the shading and all of it.
Don't get me wrong, for Kubrick's bathroom instructions, I kerned every letter.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
But this is when you need this in a hurry. Digital is actually going to take longer than doing it the right way.
If you could use 100-year-old methods and get stuff out faster than you could with Photoshop, because Earl Hays still does it that way.
Right.
And they're one of the few that still does. In fact, I think they might be the only one, at least on the West Coast, that does.
Like the actual physicality of the type and seeing the printed artifact next to it is genuinely thrilling.
You know what's fun is that we pulled this chase randomly.
Yeah.
Right? And then said, we need to find a newspaper. And Norm, who's just off camera, I said, I pulled this one from the side over there. Yeah. He actually pulled the correct newspaper for this chase.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's the exact same one.
That's hilarious.
I just noticed that.
Right.
Yeah, like randomly happened to pull the right newspaper.
Just fantastic. Yeah. It is really, it's amazing, and it's beautiful technology, and I'm really glad it is still being actively used.
Yeah, the press was just recently rebuilt. It had a lot of work done to it. So they mean to continue doing things this way into the future, despite the fact that it's the 21st century.
Right. It's not just a museum of objects, it's a museum of process as well.
Yeah. And it also just occurred to me how they hold these things in place, because I never knew. It's magnets.
What? Really?
It's magnets.
I'm almost annoyed how simple.
I know, right? I am too a little.
That's incredible. And then every single one of these drawers is filled with
various
pieces
tooling
for supporting this exact kind of.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just all blocks of lorem ipsum.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And it's all theatrical ads, theatrical times. Right. It's all Spanish.
And these cabinets, these wooden cabinets here, date back to the formation of Earl Hays.
Oh, I'm so sure.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh.
Needs some grease.
Oh, wow. They got science, no.
They got science on their brains.
Oh my God. What could that be? Okay, now I'm messing things up.
That's okay. Movies that you watch today are still using this technology.
Still calling upon these pieces.
The newest films from the largest studios are still having the stuff made this way. So it's not all CGI. It's not all computer generated. It is the old ways of filmmaking still in use.
You got to do it. You put the right thing in the actor's hands, you get a real performance.
Absolutely, you do.
Michael, what a thrill. Thank you so much for this. And I really want to give a shout out to Earl Hays for giving us so much time and their generous access to the archives, Michael. And thank you so much for these tours through film history. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video. I cannot tell you how much fun we had filming it. I want to take a moment to thank Michael Corey, Props to History, and specifically Earl Hays Press for their incredible generosity of the time and energy they have given us to let us follow along as they unpack and reveal the incredible history in this and all of their other buildings. And if you have been watching any of these Earl Hays videos and content and wondering to yourself, how do I add any of that incredible history to my prop collection? You are in luck because Earl Hays has started to make parts of their incredible collection available to the public. If you've ever wanted your own package of Smeat, well, you can follow the link in the description below and go buy it. This is just one of many things available, and more will become available as time continues. Thanks again to Michael and Earl Hays. See you guys later.